Hello and welcome to this week's angling vlog. This week you join me back on the banks of the beautiful River Ribble. There's 2 weekends now till the end of the season, and there's no place that I'd rather be than on the banks of this beautiful river, targeting the silvers on the Bolo. Before we do get into this week's vlog, just want to say thank you to everybody that subscribes to the channel, leaves a nice comments on the videos and enjoys the fishing of a Friday evening. I really do appreciate the support you do show the channel, and thank you very much. So back to today, and I have made a cheeky start. I've had 1 or 2 chub and had a few dace as well in the swim. Just been feeding maggot to begin with and a bit of hemp, and had 1 or 2 fish. So looking at the side tray, we've got plenty of the Hinders hemp, and that is a bait that has done so well on here this year, so I won't be without it. I've got quite a lot of maggot, around about 3 pints, 4 pints, and some behind me. We've got some of the sweet corn, and it's got to be green giant. As a kid, my dad always taught me it's got to be green giant. Looking behind me, we've got quite a bit of ground bait. You can see it's quite a big bucket, so I've got plenty of bait with me today, and I haven't put any of that bait in yet. As I say, I've just been getting a few bites to begin with and feeding my way into the session, but I am going to be quite positive today. That mix there, I've got the Hinders supercharged, I've got some brown crumb, and like you can see, there's a bit of molehill soil in it as well, just to bulk it out. But plenty of bait, and in a bit that's going to be going into the swim. Looking at the swim, we have got a slack on the inside, and it is a swim that we fished a couple of weeks ago. We do know down here there's a really bad snag, so we're going to be staying on the outside, and I'm not going to try and draw them dace too close to me today. I'm going to try and keep them out there and target some of the better quality fish, and by staying out there at the moment I am getting the odd chub. You can see there's plenty of fish in the river, loads topping. Looking at the setup, I've got my 17-foot carbon active rod. I've got that down to a 4-gram Bolo. I've got a bulk shot, and then I've got a 2-pound 6-ounce hook link down to a size 16 hook. And on the reel, we've got some of the new 6-pound line from Korum, the new glide line. And yeah, nice simple setup. You don't need anything sophisticated to catch silvers. The simpler, the better, and the less tangles you'll get. So one of the rules in fishing that I rarely break is actually stopping. When you're in the swim and you're catching, you should really not stop, but just stop then to do the intro to the vlog. So hopefully the fish are still out there. And say feeding positively with the hemp to begin with. I'm just trying to, like I say in other vlogs, get the fish into an area, you know, where you can get your bites, and then you can begin to put the ground bait in to really attack it. And that is going to be my plan today. So that hemp should just be falling now into that second pylon, and there we go. That's where I've been getting the bites, and like I say, it has been an excellent start to the session. And if you watch the last video, you'll notice I did do different pylons, and this time just moved it up a little bit, just trying to get them fish a bit closer. And that's another one of those chublets. So being really positive with that hemp, and say the objective is to try and just draw a few fish in these early stages. Let's say round about there, down that line is where I'm hoping to stay today. And when I've been going down that line, it's either been a dace or a chub, and been excellent quality. And you see there, right on that second pylon, it's exactly how I want to be getting them really. So the closer you can catch them to you, the quicker you can catch them. And that dace is really, its scales are really rough, so that is a sign that they are about to spawn. It's like sandpaper, that dace. And like I was saying, this is kind of how the session has started. It's either been a quality dace, and it's buried in the same spot now with a chub. There is quite a few of them in the net already. Like I say, I did make a bit of a start before I did the intro, and that was about the size we were getting. They weigh definitely more than the dace. You know, you're talking like getting on for £1, so you don't need too many to have a very good net. The last couple of weeks up here, we have been up here a couple of times, and it really has been good fishing. You know, it's just nice steady fishing. You don't have to go mad, you can just take it nice and easy and get plenty of bites, and there's certainly plenty of fish in the swim today. And that is a lovely dace. Got the copper in its gill, and it's as rough as sandpaper. Most definitely nearly the end of the season. It's a bittersweet moment when you start catching them like this, because you know the end is not far away. So now we've got 1 or 2 of the fish lined up on that line. I'm just going to feed some of the ground bait. There you go. That's plenty of bait in the swim now, and we can just go over the top of that and just see if that has some impact. You can see there, despite feeding all that ground bait, we've gone in and had a bite straight away, and that ground bait isn't there really to, you know, really feed the swim too much. It's there to stay in the swim and keep the fish in the swim, and that's what it's all about with this game. It's about keeping the fish there so you can go over the top and try and keep catching them. And we can keep the fish there exactly where we want to be getting them. The float settles, and then you're just going over the top of that ground bait and that hemp now. And so just that bit further out that time, when we've been putting that corn, and we fed that ground bait over an area, which meant we could go that bit further out as well. And just means we can just vary where we're casting in the swim to try and keep the bites coming. And so there's definitely a few more dace in the swim now. And that is what keeps me coming back to the beautiful River Ribble every winter, these quality dace. And that's a clonker. And it is just really enjoyable fishing at the moment, and I must admit, blogging sometimes takes second place at this time of the year. And there'll be a few of these little chublets in the end net, most definitely. We've had plenty of these in the swim today, and that is the beauty of it. Let's just hope that Mum and Dad might be out there somewhere. I'm feeding the odd little nugget of ground bait, but every so often just going in with a bigger ball like that, just to keep that shoal concentrated. And the only way to describe it at the moment is really phenomenal fishing, and it's always the way, isn't it, towards the end of the season, when you start getting those better nets, and before you know it, the season's over. I have to admit, sometimes blogging does take a back seat sometimes. As the season comes to an end, I have been just enjoying stood in the river catching these fish, and that's a roach in a sea of dace and chublets. And that is what you call a proper dace. Plump, fat, and in its winter condition. You can always tell the end of the season's near when they look like that. So just persevering with that inside line, and then the odd cast into that further out line, we've hooked a better When you've been catching dace, it is a light rod, and it is a beautiful rod to use, this 17-foot rod. But when you hook something a bit better, you definitely kind of know it. And the best fish of the day so far, a lovely chub. And I must admit, when you hook something a bit better, there's that many dace in here of quality, you don't know if it's going to be a better one. And so keeping that hemp going on that inside line and the odd ball of ground bait, and just casting over and feeding that corn and leaving it just seems to have worked. There's definitely one or two of these chub just over that far side now. And as you can see with the quality of them, they are worth targeting over the dace. You don't need too many of them to start getting a decent weight. And every so often just resting that far out line and just coming on that inside line when I'm keeping on feeding that hemp and the odd ball of ground bait. And hopefully these dace that are on the inside line are like money in the bank. Just keep feeding them. If it dries up over on the other side, you can always drop back. So there are plenty of those chub over there, and when you pick one up, it is a much better fish. But it's just a case of whether you'd catch more dace underneath your feet. But they are quality when you get them. You can see there what I'm saying about the quality. It's well worth the effort, because when you do get one, it's worth catching. With the level dropping, what it's kind of creating is a funnel. You've got the water pushing in that way, you've got a slack on the inside of a bend there, so the main flow is right down the middle, and you've got a channel going right down, and either side of that you've got dace and chub. And if we go to the far side, we get chub. We go on the inside, we get dace. And it's sessions like this where you don't want the season to end. Leave in the comments below whether you agree with the closed season or not. And it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. But for me, I do look forward to the adventures to come. But my God, I'm going to miss this. It really has been good fishing. The session does come to an end there now. And a really enjoyable day on the bank. with plenty of good company, and I've had this lovely net of chub, dace and roach. It's been a really enjoyable session on the bank. Coming towards the end of the season now, but good to be out. I want to wish you all tight lines in your own fishing, and I'll catch you all next week. Tight lines.